ever wanted to go back in time so that you could speak with a prior version of yourself? You know, I do that all the time. It's something I fantasize about. I wonder what would I say to myself, and so for my talk tonight, I'd like to share with you some of the challenges and some of the victories that my family's had over the last 25 years. So please indulge me as I work out what I'm going to say to myself when I figure out this time travel deal. Our first stop on our time travel journey is July 14th, 1991. It's okay to say, aw. Little Sam Dowling was born. He's a regular kid. Came into the world just like every other kid. He's got 10 fingers. He's got 10 toes. And because he was the first child of my lovely wife, Suzanne, and mine, we watched him like a hawk. We took him home from the hospital and we started raising him. And Suzanne really kept a very close eye on his developmental milestones. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you've got kids, right? He rolled over in his crib at the right time. He sat up at the right time. He began to walk at the right time. But Suzanne began to notice that he was not forming words. He was not speaking. There was a delay. So we began to get our child tested. And we did a number of different tests. And then we learned on December 7th, 1993, that Sam has autism. Holy crap. We have a child with autism, a special needs child. We're fortunate to be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama back then and today. So the first thing you do when you get a diagnosis that your child has some kind of condition, because it involves autism, involves a delay in communication, and it also involves oftentimes social difficulties for people with autism. You run screaming to the University of Alabama Speech and Hearing Center, Roll Tide. And by the way, we happen to have the best speech and hearing center in the world right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So Roll Tide indeed. We're very fortunate for that. So we doubled down on speech therapy, ladies and gentlemen. Speech therapy is what we did. Thousands and thousands of hours of speech therapy and other therapies designed for Sam, for kids with autism, to help him learn to come out of his shell. We did all that. Now, one of the things about autism is that people with autism, we like to say in the autism mafia, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. They're all different, just like us. They have things they like. We call these Sam's obsessions. And his first one was country music television. I just want you to know that I felt for this period of our lives, this very young child at home watching CMT all the time, I felt like I was being punished for something horrible I had done in a previous life because I despised country music, okay? If the TV was on at our house, we watched country music. Country music television was on. We recorded it in case the cable went out. It was that big a deal at our house. Fortunately, this time period also coincided with the rise of some lovely female country music stars, which I like to call something for daddy. So it wasn't all bad. Shania Twain, lovely. Sam's next obsession then morphed into NASCAR. Woo! It's Talladega weekend. Let's all head up after the show. Get your RV. No, it's going to be good. Sam loved NASCAR. And when you combine that with the fact that his grandparents also live here in town, you see there a kid with 1.5 million tiny little NASCAR collectible cars. That is how he played with them. That is one of the things about his autism. He would line up the cars as though they were about to start a race. And then he would look at them from every angle. That is how Sam engaged with his NASCAR toys. His mom and I were enablers for this obsession. We took him to Nashville to the NASCAR Cafe. We went to Talladega. We went to qualifying. We went to a race. And one Halloween, we let him dress up like Jeff Gordon, which in NASCAR circles, we kept a close eye on him because a lot of people didn't like Jeff Gordon in those days. It was something we were very concerned about. After September 11th, 2001, the NASCAR pre-race ceremonies got to be a lot more patriotic. And this led to Sam's next and current obsession, all things military. Every NASCAR event has a super patriotic presentation of the colors. They have some coming out, of course, sing the national anthem. There's usually some kind of really cool vehicle flyover. Oh, it's neat. You got to see this. It's awesome. And so Sam now believes deep in his heart, if you are a member of the Uniformed Services of the United States of America, you are cool. If you are a cop, if you are a fireman, you are cool. All these people are rock stars to Sam Dowling. Our next stop on our journey, June 2004. Of course, you all remember where you were when you heard that President Reagan had passed away. When you're Sam Dowling and you love military things, this is a golden event for you, because there were many, many events related to the state funeral of President Ronald Reagan. And thanks to the good people at C-SPAN, we recorded every second of it. And I don't know about your children, if you have children, Sam watches things repeatedly, hundreds and hundreds of times. Sam watched all these things repeatedly. He memorized everybody that was in Reagan's cabinet. He could tell you who sat on the front row at the National Cathedral for the memorial service for President Reagan. And more importantly, this photograph on the left, of course you recognize Nancy Reagan. The gentleman who is holding her hand is Major General Galen B. Jackman, who happened to be the commander of the Military District of Washington. It was his job to plan and execute this state funeral. So later in 2004, when you have a kid who likes history and likes the military, we visited our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We attended an event called the TWILIGHT Tattoo, which sounds naughty, okay, but it's not. It's a giant military parade held on a giant parade ground in the middle of Washington, D.C. Where it got our little blanket spread out. This is perhaps July of 2004. We enjoyed the parade. Afterward, the announcer at the reviewing stand comes on and begins to thank all the special bigwigs who were there. Thank you, Congressman such and Senator so-and-so, and a special thank you to Major General Galen B. Jackman, commander of the Military District of Washington. As soon as those words were heard by my wife and my son, they locked eyes. Elvis was in the building. They both leapt up from our blanket, which was hundreds of yards from the reviewing stand, and they began to sprint toward the reviewing stand. I recall, I think Suzanne looked over her shoulder and said, "Get the camera." So being the good husband that I am, I scoop up the camera and I huff along behind them, and lo and behold, we meet a celebrity. We get to the line, which is several deep, mostly little old ladies who are telling General Jackman how appreciative they are that he took such good care of Nancy during the funeral. We get up to, it finally becomes our turn, we get up to meet General Jackman. Sam steps up, executes a perfect salute, and says, "You escorted Nancy Reagan during the funeral services for President Ronald Reagan." And General Jackman, I mean, the guy's got 2 stars. You're not going to stump this guy, right? So he returns the salute, and he says, "Yes, I did." Wow, he's a cool guy. So we hang out. We speak with General Jackman for a few minutes. As we walk away, Suzanne steps aside and begins to tell him about Sam. Hey, Sam has autism. He's really into the military. He literally has watched the funeral 1,000,000 times. He really thinks you're a rock star. Okay, cool. So over the next year, we come back to Tuscaloosa. Life is great. We're happy that we met this celebrity. But over the next year, Suzanne strikes up a correspondence with General Jackman's administrative assistants. So the next year, we decide to go back to D.C. to attend another parade, only this time the general knows we're coming. This is exciting for us. So at the designated time of the parade, we learn that it's been rained out. Oh man, we came all the way to D.C. to see this parade and it's rained out. Oh no. Well, about this time, Suzanne's cell phone rings. It's the general's administrative assistant. The general would like to see you guys at an event he's going to at the Fort Myers Officers Club. What? We don't know where the Fort Myers, she didn't say that to the assistant, mind you. We don't know where the Fort Myers Officers Club. Somehow we found the Fort Myers Officers Club. We get there, there's an event going on. Gentlemen in the military are walking by in their dress blues. Civilians are walking by in suits. Ladies are walking by in dresses. We Dowlings are decked out for a summer parade outdoors in Washington, D.C. I'm doing my best to blend into the wallpaper. After what seemed like an eternity, the doors fly open. In comes General Jackman with his entourage. Generals have entourages. From across the room, he spies my son, whom he has spent perhaps 3 or 4 minutes with at this point. Across the room, he says, "Hey, Sam, get over here. I got some guys I want you to meet." He takes some pictures. We talk to him 15 or 20 minutes. A whole room of really nicely dressed people are cooling their heels upstairs. We're talking to General Jackman. I am blown away by this. So at this point, we can say, Sam now has a friend who's a general. Suzanne was so inspired that she commissioned Sam to paint a painting for General Jackman. She wanted him to paint an American flag painting, and she sent it to him. Over the next year, we learned that General Jackman had changed jobs, as Army officers often do. He is now the congressional liaison for the Army, and his office is in the Pentagon. Suzanne says, "Hey, Rick, wouldn't it be cool if we visited General Jackman in his office at the Pentagon?" I say, "Honey, you don't just walk into the Pentagon. You don't just visit people at the Pentagon. It's a very secure building. I mean, it's where the headquarters are of the..." Yeah, okay. So there we are in General Jackman's Pentagon office. You can see there are things that are in every general's office. An American flag is general flag. Behind Sam there on top is his general officer commission. That's a big deal when you're a general. Just behind Sam is the painting that he did for him. And wow, that again just blows me away. We later learned that the office was about 100 feet from where the plane hit on September 11th. It's just amazing. The next year, we learned that Army and Navy, again, an event tailor-made for Sam Dowling, the Army-Navy football game is going to be in Baltimore. It's close to D.C. We know our way around up there now. So let's get tickets to the Army-Navy game. Suzanne says, "Hey, Rick, wouldn't it be cool if we went stopped by again and saw General Jackman at the Pentagon?" I'm like, "No, honey, no, it's just not gonna..." And here we are again. In the words of Forrest Gump, we went to the Pentagon again. So there we are. That day, too, I don't have a photo in here, but that day, too, we met several other generals who were hanging out in General Jackman's office. Lots of stars that day. It's pretty amazing. I'm still blown. I witnessed all this. I still have a hard time believing this actually happened to us. Then we learned that General Jackman, over the next year, had planned to retire from the military. We had planned to go to his retirement ceremony. We couldn't make it. We were very sad by this, but about a week later, we get a DVD in the mail.
There's a young man down in Alabama by the name of Sam Dowling who will be watching this. Sam befriended me after watching the Reagan funeral. He came up after the funeral with his family and presented me a flag that he had painted in honor of that funeral. He's a solid high school student. He's the manager of his high school football team. He's an artist, and he has the heart of a soldier. And he's never let a little autism get in his way. Sam, thanks for your courage, and thanks for your friendship.
The heart of a soldier. So, yeah, we've had some pretty cool victories over this time. In 2010, Sam graduated from Northridge High School here in Tuscaloosa. It was a big moment for us. We were extremely proud, as you might imagine. And again, my wife comes to me a couple of months before graduation and says, "Hey, you know, General Jackman's not in the Army anymore. He's retired. Wouldn't it be cool if General Jackman came to Sam's graduation?" And I said, "Honey, he's retired from the Army, but now he's a major executive with a military contractor. He doesn't have time to..." And so there we are. General Jackman did indeed come to Sam's graduation. Again, I'm still blown away by this. That picture there on the right is the happiest photograph of my son that has ever been taken. He was a happy dude that day. Other things came along, victory-wise. Also in 2010, after Sam graduated, I was sitting at my desk at the university where I work one day, and the phone rings. It's Dr. Karen Steckel, rest in peace, Karen, the former director, or the current director, that is, of the University of Alabama Speech and Hearing Center. She goes, hey, would you mind if we named a room in our new facility after Sam? It was a little bit ironic that at that point, I became speechless while talking to the director of the Speech and Hearing Center on the phone. And on November 16, 2010, a room was dedicated to Sam Dowling. So when you go to the Speech and Hearing Center, chances are you might be able to sit in Sam's waiting room as you wait on your hearing aids or whatever. It's pretty awesome. 2012, there's my former boss, Dr. Bonner. Sam was in a program called Crossing Points at the university. Sam graduated, received his diploma. In 2013, Sam Dowling started work at the University of Alabama Speech and Hearing Center. Roll Tide. And with first days of work comes first paychecks. Roll Tide. There's a couple other little victories along the way. This one's out of chronological order, but I want to show it to you. We went to Philadelphia. This is what you do when you go to Philadelphia. You run up the steps. I'm huffing along behind him. There's a lot of steps there. I edited some of this. One take we did. Thank you. So in conclusion, what I would say to myself is that, dude, your life is not going to be what you expected. It's going to be different. But it's going to be wonderful. And more importantly, it's going to be wonderful because of the autism. Thank you.